Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 726, written by Micael. The moon teleported. I've been struggling to find the words to describe what exactly happened on July 2nd, 2022. At around 10 p.m. that night, the moon moved. Me and my mom were driving down a completely straight road on our way to the theaters. She had noticed the moon maybe 5 minutes before the incident, and we both looked in awe at a red light. It was a beautiful night and it was still light outside. I'm located in Alberta, Canada. Mere minutes later, I noticed the moon had moved pretty significantly in the sky. I drew a rough sketch of what it sort of looked like here. I immediately told my mom, "Hey, is it just me or did the moon move?" And she looked a little scared because she had just noticed it as well. We never left that road. We didn't turn a different lane or anything, if that would even result in any major difference in the moon's location. It literally just moved in the sky, and it gets worse. We arrived in the parking lot at the theaters and the moon was still in its secondary position. Something deep inside told me not to pay it any attention and to just look away. I'm not like this at all. I'm very deer in headlights when it comes to something that's scaring me. I always stop, wait, and stare at the unexplained until I can find an answer. And I'm mad I wasn't looking because as soon as I felt it was okay to look up, the moon had returned to its original location. At this point, me and my mom were completely freaked out. We were parked in an unmoving vehicle and the moon had moved across the sky in a matter of seconds. We still have no idea how to rationalize what we witnessed. Later that night, I looked up the phrase "moon moved" on Twitter to possibly see if anyone had posted about it, and they did. Just one other person somewhere in America tweeted around the same time. The moon just freaking moved? If anyone has any similar experiences, please let me know, especially if it happened on July 2nd too. Case notes for file 726. The moon teleported. Anyone else get Truman Show vibes from this? I did. Although certainly not from the same perspective as the person on the show, because two people saw it and they're able to verbalize it to other people as well. So they're not the ones in the show, the whole planet is the show. So maybe aliens are involved here? Or maybe some government conspiracy? It's curious, because there's many stories about the moon itself being some sort of hologram. It's not made of cheese, it just might not be made at all. Of course, if I'm being honest, I do believe the moon is real. I think we probably did go there. You can bounce a laser off the mirror they placed on the moon and have it return. So it seems like at least we sent something there, and it does actually physically exist. Should just be some giant solid piece of rock that broke off from Earth from a giant impact billions of years ago, and then it formed into a solid sphere. But if that is the case, what the hell is going on with all these holographic issues? I mean, the moon teleporting in different locations as in this story, or another story where there was just a ripple line like a hologram from top to bottom, fading through it. Like it was just a projection in the sky, like the bat signal or something. How does that happen? And I fully believe this one since it's two people that saw it happen, and even questioning their own sanity so they didn't want to say it to each other. You can't quite fake that. Plus someone else mentioned they saw it too. But then why only 3 people? Obviously something happened, but if it's a holographic projection, more than 3 people would have seen it, presumably. Maybe just no one wants to say it for fear of being labeled insane. I think that fear does come into play more than we might expect. But to confirm it all, I suppose I'll just have to book a space flight with a pit stop on the moon from Elon Musk. He wants to go to Mars. As long as I can come back, I would love to do that. I'll be introducing special exclusive videos on my Patreon. I'll be focusing on videos that are a bit more testy, not exactly suitable for YouTube. Generally, I think it'll be fictional horror stories. Be careful who you mess with. They might just cast a spell of karmic love on you. If that interests you, come on over. Now on to the next story. Creepy file number 43. Written by Drama Affectionate 381. Parental Discombobulation. Hello. I, 27 female, am married to my husband, 31 male, and we have 2 children, Fake names. Isaac, 8 male, from my first marriage, and Tiana with my now husband, 5 female. I am very distraught right now because I have been seeing this woman almost everywhere I go, and I have no idea if this is happening by coincidence, and I'm trying to be calm as I write this. This whole situation started somewhere around May 2022, where me and Isaac were at the local park, just doing our own thing. My son was playing with some other child at the monkey bars when I saw this woman approach me. She had red hair, pretty sure it was natural, and her face seemed tear-stained. I became concerned as I thought she was crying. I proceeded to ask her what was wrong, if she was alright, but she kept staring at my son. The more she looked at him, the more she sobbed. Then, all of a sudden, she sprints to him, running, screaming, "Micael!" She kept calling him that and it freaked me out. I mean, she was running to my kid and calling him a different name. My son and the other child got scared and I approached them before she did, as I was faster than her. I then screamed at her to get lost, but she just stood there as I held my son and she seemed pretty enraged. She then muttered some things, but I could not hear her as she stomped away. The other child's father and I talked for a bit, and he seemed alarmed by what happened. He predicted that she was probably a grieving mother and that my son looked like the child she lost. I was still disturbed and took my son home. Since then, I have been afraid to take any of my children into public areas despite my husband's reassurance. Skip to June 2nd, 2022. I get a call from my school stating that a woman, who was a new volunteer for lunch duty, kept mentioning that my son was her Mikey Bear and that she'd been looking for him for years. They told me that another volunteer who had been working with her reported this. I was scared as hell, and I acted immediately by signing my kids out for the day. When I called the school the next day, I was informed she was no longer there, so I became pretty freaked out again. Skip to last week, July 13th, 2022. It was Tiana's 5th birthday, and we decided to host it at a park in my in-laws' hometown. Everything went well, although I was paranoid. It was then somewhere around 9 p.m. when we began tidying up, and as I looked at the many oak trees behind, I could have sworn I saw her. I screamed at the top of my lungs and started chasing after her, but she somehow got away. Ever since then, I have not seen her, but I feel like this is not the end of it. I am seriously considering homeschooling my children because of what has happened. The police were on their way. The police were somewhat helpful. They were here from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We told them about the incident with the woman and thankfully they were able to get a hold of her information from the school. The information she handed in about herself may possibly be fake. That is still not confirmed yet. The cops did say that they were going to interview the woman who was volunteering alongside her, as well as the children and teacher in my son's classroom. A police report has been filed though. Some of you guys mentioned that she could be associated with my deceased ex, and I just realized my son does look awfully like his dad, so I'm scared as hell right now. She could be a crazy ex or family member, but I have only known her through this situation. That's it. I don't freaking know. Bonus file, written by Throwaway Target, Sucks Pins, The Steel-Toed Spirit. My friend lost their father. At the time, I wasn't close enough with them and their friends and family to attend the funeral they were holding for him, at least not comfortably, but I stayed at their house to wait for them to get back. That way, we could hang out and I could be there to support them. Friend leaves their house at around 6 p.m. with their other 2 family members, leaving me at their home completely alone. Fast forward and it's getting late, around 10 p.m., so I'm basically expecting my friend to be back at any second. My friend's dad was a construction worker and always wore steel-toed boots that were loud as they walked around the 1-story house with wood floors. But my friend also wears steel-toed boots as they have a profession that requires them to as well. Important fact, their dad's room was directly across the hall from theirs, meaning you always heard their parents walking down the hall and going in and out of the room. 10-15 rolls around, I hear work boots walking down the hall. I got excited because I was extremely bored waiting for my friend and knew they were finally home. But then the sound of the boots entered the parents' room across the hall and I heard the door shut, loud and clear. I waited in confusion, thinking maybe my friend was just doing something personal. 10 minutes go by and they still haven't come out of the parents' room. I then decided to walk out of the friend's room to find that the entire house, including the parents' room, is dark. No sign of anyone being home. Complete darkness and silence. At this point, I'm even more confused. Now, I decided to text my friend and ask, "What's taking so long for you to come back to your room? Is everything okay?" Thinking maybe they didn't turn the light on for some reason in their parents' room. They respond that the funeral just ended, and they're finishing up cleaning up to leave where it was being held shortly. Nobody was even home yet. I'll never forget this moment for probably the rest of my life. Case notes for the bonus file. The Steel-Toed Spirit. There's a certain comfort in this. It almost feels like astral projection, but from a spirit that already passed away. And I think it is the same thing. When we're astral projecting, we're effectively decoupling the spirit from the body, even though we're still alive, and then it can come back. But I think that's sort of what echoes are. So if we die and quantum immortality is true, the majority of our spirit or essence or soul is transposed to another universe. But some of it still remains behind, a tiny fragment or echo, as I like to say. And they behave sort of as we do, but they're just copies. They're not entirely us. They're not animated in the same way. So they may have certain emotions that linger, and that's why they're tethered to a certain spot, because they don't have any other choice. They don't know anything else. But it is beautiful in a way, and I read the comment that you left in the thread where your friend felt a cathartic response to hearing this story. As in, yeah, your dad is still there, in many different ways. I think he's okay. To give relief from such a grave tragedy is just incredible. Perhaps you should tell him about quantum immortality. Maybe he would find even more solace and emotional support from knowing that his dad is probably still around in a different universe. He doesn't even know anything happened.